Downloading. Okay. Let's get rid of that. No, Steam page. Library. Song of Saga. Let's get this started. Nitro Plus. God, it's like a fucking hair waving in front of my face. I dislike having glasses sometimes. Low. Where that bloody... Okay, got it. So, Ryoko and Koji are in the well, and they just found the secret entrance to Dr. Ogai's thing. So that's how he fooled me. I had no idea. This was here the last time I came. You've been here before? Koji wants answers, but Ryoko ignores him and peers into the opening. In the beam of the floodlight, Koji can see a concrete tunnel leading into the mountain. I'm going on ahead. You'd better stay here. Her warning is utterly devoid of warmth. Considering his options, Koji looks from the tunnel to the rope and back again. He's practically sweating now thanks to the 190 proof vodka he just drank, but although feeling has returned to his fingers, he still doesn't have the strength to climb. That said, the thought of being alone in the well again makes him shiver. I'll go too. Please, take me with you. Have it your way. Ryoko steps into the tunnel without looking back, and Koji doesn't hesitate to follow. You were pretty different the last time we met, Koji says sarcastically, following Ryoko as she moves cautiously down the tunnel with her light leading the way. This isn't the hospital, and you're not my patient. This service doesn't come with a smile. So this is who you really are? I wonder, does it matter? Ryoko suddenly stops and stares at the floor. When Koji looks over her shoulder, he sees a dust-covered rope lying coiled up in the middle of the path. What is it? Something left by the last guy who came down that well. Ryoko picks up the rope, examines it, and hands it to Koji. It's about twice as long as my rope. It has a knot in it, and both ends have been severed. They were connected before to make a circle. Huh? You loop one end of the circle around something topside, then use the rest to climb down into the well. When you're at the bottom, you cut the circle open and pull the whole rope in with you. That way, there's nothing to show where you went. Ryoko shines her light down in the tunnel, revealing that it ends in a closed wooden door about 10 meters ahead. That's how he avoided detection. Really got me good. You said you've been here before? Yeah. You and Sakisaka aren't the only ones, Ryoko said dryly. I checked Ogai's cabin a while back. Holy shit! That's a shotgun. I hope she's not about to like fucking blast Koji. As Ryoko speaks, she opens her coat and pulls out what she had hanging underneath it. If there aren't any other exits, there's still behind that door. At first, Koji thinks she's holding a steel pipe. Amazed that she would be carrying a weapon, Koji looks closer, and is appalled when he realizes what it really is. A gun! And not one of those sleek handguns that he's seen in movies, but a double-barreled shotgun. The stock and barrels have been sawed down for easier concealment, enhancing its aura of brutal efficiency. What is that? A 12 gauge, Ryoko replies blandly, as though naming a brand of cigarettes. I don't have a permit, and cutting it down would be illegal even if I did. Any other questions? What are you planning to do with that thing? Ryoko looks over her shoulder and gives Koji her most chilling smile yet. When I first learned what Ogai was doing, I was a model citizen. Never even gotten a ticket. The woman whom Koji believed was just a normal doctor waves her sawed-off shotgun menacingly as she continues, her tone sharp and bitter. If I'd had this back then, I could have killed Ogai before he got away. Maybe then none of this would have happened. I feel bad about that, really. Koji listens in silence, helpless to do anything but watch as understanding moves farther and farther out of his grasp. In other words, everything I do from here on is to clean up this mess that you and your friends have stepped in. Remember that, and don't ask any unnecessary questions. Got it? Koji can only nod weakly in response. From the light in her left hand and the shotgun in her right, Ryoko walks up to the floor and takes a deep breath. Then she kicks the door open, putting her full weight behind the blow. That looks like a human skeleton. With a disappointingly feeble sound, the door breaks off its hinges and falls into the room. Dust billows like white smoke in the beam of Ryoko's light. The room is large, at least 35 meters square. The tiled floor is set with drainage pipes, and there's no mistaking the operating table sitting in the middle of the room. Cabinets full of enamelware and drugs line one side of the space, and against the opposite wall stand a writing desk and bookshelves. 1 second. I'm gonna text my friend that I'm streaming. I think they might like to know. What? That's my password. Shit. 1 second. My channel. At least we have this nice calming music, you know? Bo 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 ba ba bo 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 ba ba bo bo ba ba bo ba ba bo ba ba bo da. Okay. The room is large, at least 25. On the opposite wall stands a writing desk and bookshelves. Those things, Koji recognizes the mysterious objects cluttering the table and shelves. However, are beyond his comprehension. Mirrors delicately engraved with complex patterns, grotesque statues and masks that must have been left by a race of savages. Tapestries woven in nauseating arrays of color, a crystal ball the size of an infant's head. Anyone would fetch a hefty price in an antique store. Okay, Sorry, on my other monitor the quality was at 144 and I'm like, Anyone would fetch a hefty price in an antique store, if not for the one thing that they all have in common. Every last piece is so loathsome and foul that Koji feels sick just looking at it. It's as though each was designed for the sole sinister purpose of immortalizing its creator's hatred of the world. Rare-looking books of the sort that he found in Ogai's home are piled here and there, and on one shelf are stacked some scrolls that look to be made of some kind of sheepskin or papyrus. Whatever it is, it's not paper. $10 says it's human skin. Finally, there are indecipherable chalk patterns and symbols filling every available space on the walls. Even the two sliding blackboards are covered in strange, unreadable scribblings. Just looking at them makes Koji feel dizzy. Don't look! Ryoko snaps at him. Listen, don't move, and whatever you do, don't touch anything. Even if something draws your attention, don't look at it. If you see something that feels wrong, stare at your shoes. Got it? Yeah. Ryoko switches her light's fluorescent runners on and sets it on a nearby table where she can illuminate the whole room. She then holsters her shotgun, only to pull out an even more confusing set of tools. A digital camera and can of spray paint. She gives the can in her left hand a good shake, switches the camera in her hand on, and steps up to the blackboard while looking at the camera's side-mounted screen. After recording one set of symbols, she covers it with a thick layer of paint, then moves on to the next. Doctor? Lesson 1. Never look at strange symbols or read anything written in unusual languages like Latin. Use a camera to record them for later, then paint over the original. Now that she mentions it, Koji realizes she's only looking at the screen of her camera, even then only in short glimpses, and never directly at any of the drawings. You understand what she's saying, but it still doesn't make any sense. Why do you have to... Now that you've come this far, you better shut up and listen for your own good. Things like crystal balls and mirrors are dangerous. Anything can happen if you break them, so it's best to cover them with a cloth or paint over them for the time being. Koji begins to fear that this doctor might be even crazier than Fuminori. Despite the burst of energy he received from the vodka, Koji is still exhausted from his night in the well. The fear is affecting his body, making him dizzy and nauseous. Soon the walls are covered in black paint and stale air is thick with the smell of turpentine. That should do for now, Ryoka says with relief, then tosses the empty can aside and puts away her video camera. What happened to Ogai? Koji asks, supporting himself against a nearby table. Oh, he was over there. Without stopping her examination of the papers on the writing table, Ryoko points nonchalantly to a Chinese-style screen standing in one corner of the room. He was there. Her clinical choice of tense makes her meaning instantly obvious. The urge to see for himself is irresistible. I'm gonna move it over here. We don't know what's over there. Koji staggers across the room to the screen, taking the utmost care not to look at the scaly octopus thing that is painted on it. Behind the screen is a large easy chair. Though he's never met the man before, Koji is fairly certain the person sitting in it is Ogai Masahiko. Okay, that's not too bad. You never fucking know. Ogai's corpse must have shrunk significantly while trying in this sealed chamber. The body is barely the size of a child's, with only the business suit hanging from the bones offering any hint of Ogai's former stature. His empty eye sockets and wide open jaw are filled with darkness. The same darkness that surrounded Koji at the bottom of the well. Compared to those gaping voids, the tiny hole in Ogai's right temple is almost demure. The revolver that he presumably used to kill himself is still clenched in his dangling right hand. Looks like a child's toy compared to Ryoko's shotgun. Ryoko must not have noticed Ogai's corpse while she was spray painting the walls, and still must have noticed. She kept working without batting an eyelash. Impressive, though not exactly surprising after what he's been through. It's getting difficult to remember the last time he spoke to someone sane. But if not for her, Koji reminds himself with a bitter smirk, he would have ended up joining this mummified corpse here, and no one would ever have found him. Koji's vision suddenly dims. He's pushed himself too hard, and this spiritus vodka can't help him anymore. He collapses to the floor, unable to hang on to his slipping consciousness, and the last thing he sees are Ogai Masahiko's gaping eye sockets staring at him. When he wakes, Koji finds himself lying on something dry and soft. A bed is a bed, he thinks to himself, even one that smells of mold and must. And especially after sleeping in the cold mud all night. There are no lights hanging from the ceiling, but the soft, warm light of a lamp fills the room. Simple furnishings, non-existent decor. Koji realizes that he's in Ogai's cabin, in the bedroom that he searched before Fuminori pushed him into the well. You awake? Ryoko is sitting in a chair against the wall, her expression blank as she studies the pile of documents on the table in front of her. She must have brought them up from Ogai's underground lab. She turns a page, then takes a bite from the sandwich in her free hand. If you feel up to eating, there's food over there. Without looking up from the files, she gestures towards the convenience store bag, sitting on the nightstand. How did I get here? Koji can't imagine that a woman, even a woman like Ryoko, could have climbed out of the well with him on her back. There was a door behind one of the bookshelves down there, Ryoko mutters, taking care not to let the explanation interfere with her reading or eating. When I finally got it open, it led to the boiler room underneath the cabin. The other side was hidden with a thin layer of mortar. I figured that's how he got most of his supplies down there. Once he had everything he needed, he could seal it up and use the well instead. Pretty thorough. Was there really something in there that he needed to hide? There used to be. This is the last of it. Having finished her sandwich, Ryoko picks up some unsorted papers with her free hand and waves them in the air. Not all scholars want to get on a stage at a symposium and show their research to the world, you know. Some nutcases get their kicks by learning secrets no one else knows, and by being buried with those secrets in hidden tombs that no one will ever find. Koji still hasn't the slightest idea what Ogai's secret might have been. From what Ryoko said in the tunnel, however, he can guess that Fuminori is somehow involved. What happened to Fuminori? Koji asks desperately, no longer caring who he gets answers from. What does he have to do with that body down there? What is it you're after? That's what I'm trying to find out, Ryoko replies coldly, as though Koji's concerns are none of hers. Sakisaka told me that he was acting on behalf of one of Ogai's relatives. Yeah, he told me the same thing. Oh, well, at least that's consistent. Ryoko pulls several sheets of loose-leaf paper from a different file. The truth is that Ogai has no relatives. I thought that Sakisaka was simply lying. However, there is another possibility that I should have considered. He might have been tricked by someone claiming to be Ogai's family. Ryoko pauses, then looks sidelong at Koji. Does the name Isaya ring a bell? Saya? No, who's that? Who or what is the question. The more I read, the less I understand. She sighs bitterly, then returns her attention to the papers in her hand. I thought she said she finished off her sandwich. There it is right there. Bad game, everybody. Horrible game. Very inconsistent. All I can say for sure is that it appears to have been the focus of Ogai's research. If Sakisaka is involved with whatever Saya is, then he's already past the point of no return. The icy certainty in Ryoko's voice sent a chill down Koji's spine. If so, then what will you do? He has to ask, even though he already knows the answer. It's like I said, Ryoko replies, smirking at the tension in Koji's voice. I have no idea how many times I've wished I'd killed Ogai when I had the chance. I won't make the same mistake twice. If I go to the police, it'll all be over. Ryoko doesn't respond, as though she didn't even hear what Koji just said. Fuminori tried to kill me, Koji continues persistently. If I report him, he'll be arrested and... Ryoko cuts him off harshly. You have witnesses? Proof? What was Sakisaka's motive? You know, Tono, you're completely misunderstanding what the police do. Their job isn't to fight for justice, or even to keep the people safe. What are you saying? Finding reasonable explanations for unreasonable events. That's what the police are for. They will always choose to believe the simplest, most logical explanation. Just like how the water always flows downhill. They aren't interested in the truth. They don't know or care that the truth is often stranger than fiction. They can't all be like that. I won't know until I try. Exactly, Ryoko states as she pulls another sandwich out of her bag. That's the problem. She hasn't spared Koji a second glance since looking at him earlier. Even while talking, her attention is always focused on the papers in front of her. Let's say you accuse your friend of pushing you into a well. In addition to your statement, the police will consider two alternative versions of the truth. Maybe you're making it up to frame your friend, or even simple. It was an accident. You fell into the well by yourself, and the shock made you paranoid or delusional. The three possibilities will compete to see which comes out with the most convincing evidence. No one knows which will be the winner. Are you willing to bet everything you have on your truth? Koji has no response. Can you really explain with cold, clear logic what drove Fuminori to do what he did? How can he convince anyone else when he doesn't understand himself? And here's the biggest problem, Ryoko says calmly, cutting into Koji's thoughts. While you're raising hell with the police, we'll lose our chance to corner Sakisaka. If he sees trouble coming, he'll go into hiding, and then we'll be right back to square one. She pauses to take a bite of her sandwich before finishing. Just like when I let Ogai get away. A heavy silence falls upon them, with only the soft rustle of pages turning in Ryoko's hands to mark the passage of time. Please tell me, Doctor, Koji says, his hushed voice breaking through the quiet. What crime is so unforgivable that you're determined to take justice into your own hands? What exactly did Ogai do in that room down there? Once again, Ryoko ignores Koji's question. This time, however, Koji doesn't back down. His silent glare demands her attention as she pours through the documents before her. After some time, Ryoko rearranges the papers in her hands and sets them aside as though having come to some conclusion. She then turns her chair to face Koji for the first time since he awoke. Listen, Tono. Her hard stare belies the calmness of her voice. You need to get out of this while you still can. There are a lot of fine hot springs around here. Go relax. And don't return to Tokyo until you're ready to forget that any of this ever happened. Forget? Koji feels anger rise within him. Omi was my girlfriend! Fuminori is my best friend, and you're telling me to forget about them?! Yeah, forget about them, Ryoko replies, coolly rebuffing Koji's anger. This isn't a suggestion, it's a warning. Whatever they were to you, that's all over now. You'll never see them again, I guarantee it. Then what about Scuba? Koji shouts, unable to control himself. She begged me for help on the phone. Something terrible was happening to her. And how many hours ago was that? Ellipses. Do you know how much time has passed since I saved you? How much longer do you think she would have lasted down there if I hadn't? You laugh. Whoops. She shakes her head, then declares coldly, it's too late. She's already dead. That's not quite true, but true enough. Don't expect everyone to be as lucky as you. You heartless. Koji growls, unable to suppress his anger. If you'd found me dead in that well, you wouldn't have thought anything of it, would you? I was prepared for that, of course, Ryoko says with a shrug, unfazed by Koji's ires. I hardly expected to find you alive. It is futile to argue with this woman, Koji realizes. Her values are fundamentally different from his own. Nothing he can say will ever move her. Koji gets out of bed and stands on shaky legs. How long have I been asleep? About half a day. I envy your ability to recover so quickly. It's a privilege of youth, so enjoy it while it lasts. Koji looks at his watch and sees that it's 4 in the morning, which means that it was already early evening when Ryoko rescued him. He can't believe that he survived in that well for almost 2 days. Now that gaps in his memory have been filled and his sense of time has returned, he realizes that it's already Sunday morning. Ryoko's right. A lot of time has passed since he spoke to you on the phone. Koji grabs a sports drink and 2 jelly packs from the bag of food that Ryoko brought, then heads for the door. His legs are a little unsteady, but he can compensate for that with sheer willpower. Just to make sure, mind telling me where you're going? Tokyo, Koji requires brusquely, his tone as hard as hers. Scuba might be alive. I'm going to save her. You just don't listen, do you? She's about to fucking pop a cap in his ass. I could say the same about you. Koji's expecting Ryoko to watch him go with that cold, mocking smile of hers. Instead, she sighs heavily and rests her jaw on her hands. Can't you wait a little longer? Somewhere in here, she thrusts her chin at the mountain of papers in front of her. Is the answer to what this thing called Saya is. I think you should wait until I figure that out and come up with a plan to deal with it. You would think that, since you're already convinced that Scuba is dead. In truth, Koji is extremely uneasy about going it alone. At the same time, however, he knows that he mustn't depend on Ryoko. She's made it clear that she doesn't care about saving lives. Teaming up with her will only make it more difficult to salvage something, anything, out of this nightmare. Tono, Ryoko calls just before Koji steps at the door. You almost got killed already. Don't let it happen again. She picks something up from the table and tosses it to Koji. It's going to be the handgun from Ogai. When Koji catches it, he feels its solid weight fill his hand. This is... Koji stares at the menacing shape of cold metal. It's a revolver. The same one that was clenched in Ogai's skeletal fist. It has 4 more shots. There's no safety, so just pull the trigger to fire. How you use it is up to you. He's definitely going to kill himself with it. That's prediction. If Koji were his usual cautious self, he would not hesitate to reject this dangerous offering. The only time you truly need a gun is when all hope is lost. He'd prefer not to fight a losing war. And yet, without even knowing it, Koji has already set foot into Ryoko's world. Choosing instinct over reason, he accepts the small but deadly weapon and stuffs it into his pocket. There's no question that Koji intends to save Yo and bring Fuminori to answer for his crimes. In the back of his mind, however, he can hear the footsteps of ruin approaching. We might get a cut to, That's also a good picture of Saya. When he steps out of the cabin's front door, Koji shivers as the wind tears into his skin. To his surprise, the outdoor air is even colder than the mud at the bottom of the well. Perhaps the cramped space mitigated the cold somewhat. If he had been exposed to this chill all night long, he would surely have frozen to death. Koji finds 2 cars parked in the yard. The smaller car next to him must be Ryoko's. When he sits behind the wheel of his car, he gets some relief from the feeling that he has taken the first step, however small, back into his world. He sips the sports drink, wetting his parched throat, then washes down some jelly. His stomach rebels at the sudden influx of food after 36 hours on empty, but he managed to force down the urge to vomit. Koji needs the energy. No matter how hard it is, he must regain enough stamina to overcome the challenges ahead. After forcing down as much food as he can handle, Koji leans back in his seat and takes a short break. When he begins to feel like himself again, he reaches into the back seat and pulls a spare cell phone out of his bag. He never expected to be carrying 2 phones would be such a stroke of luck. As he calls Fuminori and prepares to hit send, Koji is overcome by a flood of emotion. Rage, despair, sorrow, pity. He is unable to decide which to feel towards his friend. However, this is no time to dwell on the past. Every second lost diminishes the chance of saving Omi and Yo. Koji refuses to consider that it may already be too late. He steels himself and presses the button, then holds the phone to his ear as it rings. The shrill sound seems to go on for longer than has ever in his life. I'm just gonna move it here because we don't know what's gonna pop up. Like it might flash to questionable content because that's what's going on Fuminori's end. Right now, Fuminori's phone must be displaying the name of the caller. Koji wonders what his reaction will be when he sees it. The call goes through. In the silence on the other end of the phone, Koji senses surprise, apprehension, and dark fury. Feeling slightly gratified, Koji delivers the first jab. I lived, bitch! No. What? Weren't expecting a call from a dead man? I'm surprised. How did you manage it? As Koji is about to answer, an idea suddenly comes to him. There was a secret passage in the well, Koji says, a plan forming rapidly in his mind. It led to a hidden underground lab. He pauses to let that sink in. Then, with satisfaction filling his voice, he says, I met Ogai Masahiko. Fuminori's gasp tells Koji that the advantage is his. Keeping his voice bold, he decides to further exaggerate the truth. I know it all. Everything about Saya. You're finished, Fuminori! I've got all the proof I need to blow this thing wide open. You won't even see it coming. You son of a bitch! It's obvious from Fuminori's tone that rage has overwhelmed his reason. Koji's bluff is working perfectly. His victory is tainted, however, as Fuminori's response to the name Saya brings a cry of anguish from the corner of his heart that still wants to believe his friend can be saved. Sakisaka is involved with whatever Saya is. Ryoko's words play back in his head, sounding even colder than before. Then he's already past the point of no return. He mustn't allow emotion to sway him. Where are Omi and Yo? Koji suddenly switches topics, trying to keep Fuminori off balance. It all comes down to this. It's like Death Note, you know, whether it's like, oh, if I do this, then yeah, I've won. Depending on your answer, I might be willing to cut you a deal. You swear not to cause any more harm, I'll forget about what you did to me, and about what I found at the cabin. I don't want anything more to do with you and Saya anyway. All I want is Omi and Yo to be safe. That ship has sailed. Fuminori's voice trails off. He's obviously trying to decide how far Koji can be trusted and whether there's room for negotiation. Fuminori has been called out, and now it's time for him to show his hand. I honestly don't know anything about Omi. She never came to my house. Yo, on the other hand... Fuminori pauses, then gives a knowing chuckle that sends chills up Koji's spine. Well, I wonder if she'll really want to leave. She's with you, isn't she? Koji is relieved to learn Yo's location, that she is at least still alive. At the same time, however, he remembers that horrifying phone call. It is clear now that Fuminori played some part in Yo's suffering. Had she already fallen into his trap back then? What has happened to her? How is she being treated? Her wish has finally come true, Fuminori says with venomous sarcasm. She's my property now. I guess you and Omi got what you wanted after all. Koji feels despair settle over his soul. How much lower will this man go? Must Fuminori seek out and destroy every memory of the friendship they once shared? Let Scuba go. When I'm sure she's safe, I'll destroy everything I have on you and Saya. How can I trust you? First, I want you to... I'm not giving you a choice here, Fuminori! Koji instinctively realized it's dangerous to push his bluff any further. I'll call again later. You have until then to make up your mind. Hangs up without waiting for a response. Fuminori doesn't know that Koji is still at the cabin in Tochigi. Right now, he's probably worrying about whether Koji will show up in 1 hour or 1 minute. Koji hopes that he'll be able to take advantage of Fuminori's confusion. 3 hours. That's how long it will take to race all the way back to Tokyo. Koji is afraid that his body won't carry him through such a long drive. His mind is clear, but his limbs still feel half asleep, like they're weighted down with lead. Although he knows that he has to stay resolute, Koji still longs for the peace that he had just a few days ago, when life or death struggles were the furthest thing from his mind. Back then, he could never have imagined himself fighting to rescue a friend from the clutches of a madman. With each passing moment, he feels himself becoming less like the person he was. When all this is over, will he be able to return to his old life? Or will this change continue until it has consumed him utterly? Time is against him. Every second that passes is wasted. Even so, he decides to allow himself just 5 minutes of weakness. For exactly 5 minutes, he leans against the steering wheel and cries. When his tears have run dry and his heart is calm, Koji starts up his car and drives away. Might flash to the other... Okay, it didn't. We're in Omi vision, or not Omi, Fuminori vision. I'm gonna be right back. Gonna get some water. Okay, I'm coming back. I am back. I stare at the silent, this is what's happening. I stare at the silent phone in my hand. There's anger, of course, but something cold and heavy holds my emotions in check. The sense of danger. To be honest, I'm surprised at how calm I am. I got a text. I'm going to check what it was real quick. Also, why is my phone not charging? Now it is. Surprised at how calm I am. Master? Yo looks up at me apprehensively, her head between my thighs. She was attending to me throughout the call. The remaining fragments of her memory seem to have joined together, as she has regained some degree of speech. Upon realizing this last night, Sai began to teach her language once more. I assume she finds our pet's efforts amusing. Don't be mad. Yo will try harder. He's enjoying this very much. However, his arousal has decreased significantly. Not in like the good way, but in the everything that I know and love is in extreme danger. I do not want to be thinking about sex right now kind of way. At first, I consider making her stop. When I gaze into her puppy dog eyes, however, I begin to think differently. Thanks to Saya, I have family once again. For the first time, I am becoming aware of the responsibility that places on me. I am now the head of the new Sakisaka household. As well as its only male member, it is my duty to protect, comfort, and ensure the happiness of the women living under my roof. With that in mind, I know that I mustn't show fear or confusion. That would only cause them distress.
続けろよ。
Continue. Yes, master. I, Fuminori, entrust. I could probably read it. I trust myself to Yo's eager touch, basking in the pleasure with one part of my mind while contemplating our current predicament with the other. It is clear that I made a grave error when I failed to finish Koji off 2 days ago. Right now I need to set my frustration and anger aside to deal with the problem logically. It's time to leave. I have no way of knowing when Koji escaped from the well, or how much he has learned, or how many people he has had contact with since then. Remember, it's really early in the morning right now, so who knows if yeah, just flashing that again. It's really early in the morning now, so they could actually escape because we know that Yo and Fuminori are, or Yo and Saya do not blend into nature. People will know. It's time to leave. There's no way of knowing when Koji escaped from the well, or how much he has learned, or how many people he has had contact with since then. Now that it is impossible to know how far the problem is spread, merely disposing of Koji won't guarantee our safety. That is true. But more true than you... Less true than you think, but actually true. When the enemy has poisoned your water supply, you can't take the risk that even one drop might remain. Your only choice is to stop drinking the water.
ねえ、Fuminori、誰と話してたの?
Fuminori, who are you talking to? Hey guys, look at Saya! Yay! It's probably safe. Saya returns from the kitchen, where she'd gone in search of a midnight snack. She's munching on her favorite, spare ribs. Purging myself of an uneasy impatience, I respond with a casual shrug. It looks like we have a little problem. That bastard Koji is still alive.
あらま。
Oh dear! By breaking the news suddenly and without any trace of anxiety, I am able to avoid frightening Saya. Instead, she is merely surprised. I knew that remaining calm would work. I find this whole I'm the man of the house, I gotta be really responsible thing absolutely hilarious, because he's acting like so normally and treating this like a normal situation, but he also just fucking murdered his best friend, or tried to. Moreover, I'm currently being on second thought, actually you guys already saw it, but we don't know what else is coming. Said she's real. I knew. Moreover, I'm currently being pleasured by Yo. It would be hard for anyone to get too serious under these circumstances. Saya, it might be best if we leave this house. Saya lowers her eyes and strokes her chin thoughtfully. This was bound to happen sooner or later. Even without Koji, it's only a matter of time before someone reports the Suzumi family missing. Yeah, Saya nods. I can tell that... Yeah, Saya nods. I can tell that she's reluctant to leave. But at least there is no sadness in her expression. Everything will be fine. I will protect my life with Saya, just as I have up until now. I have that power. It's funny because Saya is much more powerful than he is. Although, actually, yes, but also no, because, like, we don't know what she is. We don't know what she looks like still. So, all we know is that she's capable of very delicate work on organics. She messed up Suzumi's brain. We know that. But, on the other hand, theoretically, she was successfully assaulted by Suzumi, by Mr. Suzumi, which means that she can't be... She at least has near human levels of strength, but I don't know. Her power's weird. We also don't know if seeing her as a little girl will change what happened, like change how we see her. It's whatever. Everything will be fine. I'll protect my left side. I have that power. Knowing that we've overcome one problem fills me with new confidence. Now then, we'd better get ready. Okay. we can travel light and take the Suzumi family car. I'd better withdraw everything that's left in my bank account and carry it as cash. I'll also need a weapon, something more reliable than a butcher's knife. Koji will most likely follow, however he thinks that Yo can still be saved. However, I'm not abandoning this house just to run away. As long as Koji knows our location, we're stuck on the defensive. Leaving gives me the chance to regain the initiative and deal with him at a place of my choosing. The next time we meet, I'll kill him with my own 2 hands. I'll make sure to wring every last drop of life out of his body. A shiver runs through me as I anticipate the battle ahead, and my bloodlust burns like orgasmic fire. Are you sure that's not an actual one? Ryoko looks up. The morning sun is already streaming in through the window. Tired from hours of poring over files, she removes her glasses and massages her aching eyes. Her dreams are always filled with horror, yet the night she just spent was more nightmares than them all. And it's not over yet. She only just set foot on the threshold. As expected, the files left by Ogai Masahiko were not the sort that Ryoko could simply pick up and read. Fortunately, Ogai had been too old-fashioned to put his trust in electronic media. If he'd encrypted his files on a computer, she'd have had to find a hacker to decipher them. In fact, had he not employed any kind of code in his writing, that would have been too time-consuming by hand. The method of obfuscation he did was quite simple. Of the files Ryoko pulled from his underground lab, the majority turned out to be notes and these from Ogai's days as a student. The important papers were the diaries and research note that had been scattered throughout piles of worthless scrap. At first, she was unable to understand the documents that she had found. Each sheet was covered with text on one side and blank on the other. Each line was completely unrelated to the next, making it impossible to glean any meaning from the whole. The trick Oh, I should probably show the picture, guys. This is the picture. The trick revealed itself, however, while she was sorting the pages that made no sense. She found that each line continued on the same line of a different page. In Ogai's diary, for example, the first day began on the first line, then continues on, not with the next line, but with the first line on the next page. Similarly, the second day was the second line, the third day was a third line, and so on and so forth. After filling all the lines on one set of pages, Ogai had torn them out and scattered them amongst his other files. There was no regularity to how the pages were numbered, of course. Unable to locate any sort of key or legend, Ryoko had no choice but to figure out the page order manually. Despite knowing that the task would be exhausting, Ryoko set to it valiantly. After separating all these loose leaf sheets from the jumbled files, she began the painstaking process of linking pages together according to the contents of their first line. She found that Ogai had dismantled and scattered his diary each time he completed a number of days equal to the lines on one page, and had done the same with his research notes every 30 pages or so. The diary was much easier to restore because the entries varied in length. Later pages had a larger number of blank lines. The page with only one line, therefore, was the last page of the diary, and those with the most blank spaces could be considered closer to the end. Ryoko's perseverance had paid off, for she had already succeeded in restoring several volumes of Ogai's diary. As she reads them, she feels despair draining her spirit, as it has so many times before. This cursed feeling of powerlessness that comes with knowing hidden truths. Those who have tasted it once shall be beaten down by it again and again until the day they die. All secrets are connected, after all. Once you have glimpsed even the tiniest fraction of the world's true face, you have no choice but to watch in horror as the veil rolls itself back inch by inch. All that remains now is to wait for the day when insanity will crush your reason under its ever-mounting weight. I have succeeded in communicating with the organism. It shows enormous curiosity, and its intelligence is beyond doubt. See research notes for confirmed vocal patterns and body language. Its appetite for knowledge is insatiable, and its learning speed is off the charts. However, it exhibits absolutely no desire to be recognized as an individual. Its ego appears to be quite weak, suggesting a psyche wholly unlike that of a human. The speed of the organism's linguistic development is astounding. When I laughed at its pronunciations, it immediately picked up on the concept of puns. Ever since, it's been employing its entire vocabulary in an attempt to find puns that will make me laugh.
Perhaps in a few days' time it will have learned enough language for us to communicate freely. The organism's command of spoken language is now sufficient to facilitate high-level discourse, but although it has regaled me with questions all day, it remains unable to answer any of mine. Its replies suggest that it gained awareness only after materializing in this universe. It has no knowledge of where it came from. While I am disappointed, the fact that it has reached this level of intelligence only 1 week after starting to think tells me that there is no end to what I can learn from it. Hypothesis. It is not a naturally occurring organism, but was created by an even more sophisticated sentient life form. That would explain why it has no ego yet possesses such a hunger for knowledge. It might be some sort of reconnaissance drone that is sent from another world.
Ryoko smiles humorously for the umpteenth time since she started reading. How wonderful it would be if she could laugh the diary off as delusions of a madman, or the work of a science fiction author. Alas, she knows far too much. When she thinks back to the many horrors that Ogai brought into her life, the words before her take on chilling credibility. I have confirmed that the organism's brain power far surpasses any human's. This morning I taught it about prime numbers. After I explained the Lucas-Lemmer test for Merense primes, it immediately began to list examples that it had calculated in its head. I was only able to confirm by memory up to number 10 M89, but it continued to list further examples without any trouble. I left it to its calculations, and when I returned a few hours later, I discovered that it had written down more than 70 of them. Computers all over the world are currently working to calculate Merense. I'm gonna look that up. Merense prime. Number that is one less than a. In math, it's a prime number that is one less than a power of 2. So it's like, yeah. So 8 minus 1, 7. Fascinating. That's interesting. Very interesting. Although not all of them work, because 127. Actually, I don't know about 127. 128, 256, 255 is not a prime number. 512, 511, maybe. Whatever. I talked about prime numbers. But the last one I remember being found was the 39th back in 2001. When I entered several of the results into my laptop and ran the Lucas-Lemmer test on them, I found that every one was correct. The same is no doubt true of the rest. After all, the organism has never shown the pathological need for respect that would lead it to lie about its accomplishments. I see no reason to doubt its veracity. If I could reveal this to the world in an expedient method for discovering Merense primes, the prize money would make me a billionaire. Of course, my current research is worth far more than any sum of money. I must keep it a secret. Oh, whoops. The organism's computational speed exceeds that of even the most powerful supercomputers. I can only conclude that its cognitive faculties are beyond anything humanity can imagine. At the organism's request, we have begun a new field of study. Despite its immeasurable aptitude for mathematics, it now desires to concentrate on sociology and the natural sciences. Perhaps our math problems are simply too elementary for it. It has shown especially keen interest in the means by which organisms reproduce and multiply. As it possesses nothing that can be called emotion, I hesitate to use its description, but when it learned about DNA, it seemed somehow excited. In fact, the organism itself seemed surprised by its reaction. When I asked about the nature of the impulse, the organism decided to label it as instinct. If this description is indeed accurate, then this is an extremely significant development. Whoops. Seem here his teeth really yellow in this picture. It would mean that there is a deeper level to its psyche than just the knowledge it has acquired. Since coming to this world. If I can use this discovery to trace its roots, I might be able to learn what it truly is. Note, candidates for the plane and the world of the organism's origin are discussed in my writings on the Silver Key, filed separately. I spent the whole day carrying books into its room.
Apparently, the organism is no longer satisfied by the knowledge I am able to impart. It should come as no surprise, considering its linguistic prowess, but the speed of which it consumes text is astounding. The diary continues on for some time, chronicling the intimate relationship between Ogai and the organism. In the back of her mind, Ryoko imagines the old doctor coming down the well in the middle of the night to hold up Congress with some inhuman creature in that bizarre laboratory. The image is disturbingly similar to the nightmares that have shattered the silence of many nights with her screams. What follows, however, makes even her worst nightmares pale in comparison. The organism has made a very strange request. This is the first time it has asked for anything other than food and reading materials. I can hardly believe it, but it wants to consume the sperm of living creatures. It is separate from its desire for food. Once again, it's describing the impulse as instinctive and wants to breed and take over the world with clones of itself. Now that it has declared itself a life form that requires the seed of males, it has begun to identify itself as female. After today, I suppose I shall start calling the organism a she. Is the personality that she has begun to exhibit really just an imitation created for her amusement? Ever since she started to immerse herself in our literature, she's been acting astonishingly human. She identifies herself as female, and already possesses an enormous store of cultural knowledge. Is she trying to create a human identity for herself based on these? I have seen her laugh, grow angry, and today she cried. Is she just copying our emotional displays? If not, then she is already... Is the soul something that any intelligent life form can acquire? I feel that I am witnessing something more mysterious than genesis of life itself. Today is her birthday. Although it is a year late, I want to give her a special gift. Saya was the name on my mother's cat. In childhood, she was my soul's friend and my beloved. I decided long ago that if I ever were blessed with a children, I would give this name to my daughter. Happy birthday, Saya.
I'm gonna look up if Saya means anything. Does Saya mean anything? Oh my god. Saya's name was Saya's name is, it comes with last time. Japanese term for scabbard. Okay, so scabbard, wink wink, nudge nudge, I guess? I don't know.
Let this be the name of your soul. You have earned it. The ability that Saya has discovered in herself is showing more extraordinary results each day. I have no doubt that she is a kind of artist. What exactly is that she created in her body from the rat semen I gave her? At this point I can only surmise that it is a type of retrovirus, a reverse transcriptase enzyme that creates exactly what she desires. The rats have been transformed by her art are so very beautiful now. The many enzymes secreted by her body and various appendages she used are discussed in detail in my biological observations, filed separately. Here I will say this. By witnessing Saya perform her operations on several rats, I have gained much confidence in my theory that her body is designed specifically to manipulate the biology of other organisms.
Ryoko looks grimly at the still unsorted mountain of research notes. When she finally manages to separate those papers, she will probably find the many other files mentioned in the diary. Ogai's biological observations, at the very least. She wants to look through those before facing the thing called Saya. Under no circumstances does she want to go into battle unprepared. Oh, whoops. She looks at the watch and sees that it's already 7 in the morning. Assuming Tono Koji made it no stops, he should be arriving in Tokyo about now. But now that it's too late, she wishes she'd stop that stubborn fool from leaving, even if she had to shoot him in the leg to do it. Ooh. No, this should be safe. Koji pulls up 2 blocks away from the Sakisaka house and stares at the silent building. In the bright light of the morning, the house seems shrouded in a dark miasma, like a black hole torn out of the landscape. It's just a figment of Koji's imagination. Every window is closed, offering no glimpse of the inside. Koji has no way of knowing whether Fuminori is home. A pedestrian walks his dog down the street, glancing back at Koji through the windshield after he passes by. Koji is surprised by the attention. He hasn't bathed or changed clothes since spending the night buried in the mud, so much like a vagrant even inside his car. When he looks into the rearview mirror, he sees the haggard visage of a man with one foot in the grave staring back at him. It's hard to believe that the tired, unshaven face is really his. If he stays here for too long, someone might report him to the police. He'd better pull himself together and get moving. He drives slowly up to the front of Fuminori's house. Quickly checks to make sure no one is around and gets out of the car. Anyone who might be in the house probably heard the sound of the engine, but there's no point in worrying about that now. Koji walks swiftly through the gate and yard to the front door. He puts his hand on the doorknob before going the bell. The time for such pleasantries has passed. The door is unlocked and the knob turns easily in his hand. He puts his ear to the door and listens for any sign of life. He's acting like a thief, he realizes, with some shame. But that is the least of his worries now. Oh, I wonder if this is banned on Twitch. Sorry, but Twitch banned games list. Why am I not surprised it took that long? Song. Uta. Yeah. Suck my dick or die! I just find it hilarious that someone actually made a game called that. Cody walks through the gate yard at the front door and puts the door is unlocked and the knob turns easily in his hand. He puts his ear to the door and listens for any sign of life. He's acting like a thief, he realizes with some shame, but this is the least of his worries now. No sign from within. After checking the street again to make sure no one is looking, quickly opens the doors and disappears inside. This is the picture. An indescribable stink immediately assaults his nostrils. He is already prepared for anything, however. So rather than discourage him, the stench only sharpens his caution to a razor's edge. He has crossed the threshold many times in the past, and his memories of the days spent here are still bright. So why? Why does it feel the same ominous, blood-chilling aura that permeated Ogai's home and cabin? Anger and sorrow seize Koji's heart, as though a dear friend's grave has been defiled. Koji doesn't remove his shoes before entering. How impolite! He knows why he's here, and it's not to be polite. Every storm shutter is closed, filling the house with gloom, and he can see nothing but pitch-black darkness through open doors in the hallway. He should have brought his flashlight from the car, he thinks ruefully, then remembers that he dropped the light when Fuminori attacked him, still lying in the backyard of the cabin at Tochigi. The house might be empty, but then again, it might not. Each particle of the air seems charged with silent menace. Is his enemy lurking somewhere in the darkness? It's not hard to imagine Fuminori waiting for a chance to take him by surprise and finish what the well failed to. We don't know that he has his gun, drawn, which he should. Koji walks down the first floor hallway, then climbs the stairs and checks the second floor too. He moves slowly and carefully, keeping his senses sharp, but feels nothing watching him from the shadows. After completing his round safely, he is convinced that the house is empty. He suddenly realizes that his right hand is touching the cold steel of the gun in his pocket. Did he intend to draw the weapon upon encountering Fuminori? Now that Koji thinks about it, his own actions seem mysterious to him. What is he planning to do when he meets Fuminori? Will he lay into him with curses and epithets? Will he force him to turn himself in, or will he... Koji shakes his head. This isn't the time for such hopeless questions. If he keeps thinking, he'll stop moving. If he stops moving, fear will paralyze him forever. His only choice is to keep marching on. He has to close the distance to his prey. In any case, Fuminori isn't home. What form their reunion takes will probably be decided at the moment of their meeting. All Koji has to do is not hesitate when the time comes. Still, why does the whole house smell like stagnant water? been 3 months since Fuminori's distanced himself from his friends. Just what kind of life has he been leading all this time? Koji enters the living room and feels along the wall with the light switch. The moment he flips it on, the answer to his question is revealed. Why? How far has Fuminori gone? Koji realizes it's the first time he has encountered Fuminori's insanity in visible form. From the dust piled in the corners of the room, it is clear that the paint was not applied recently. How many nights has Fuminori spent surrounded by this maddening array of colors? Why, if such obvious signs were available, why didn't Koji realize that something was wrong before it got this bad? Was he deaf to the dying screams of Fuminori's sanity? Was their friendship really so worthless? As he stands petrified in the unfamiliar living room, Koji directs his anger entirely at himself. If he could, he would like nothing more than to apologize to Fuminori for failing to help him through his suffering. Koji feels that he might have been able to save his friend. Perhaps he is arrogant to think so, but if so, it is an arrogance born of kindness. The best kind of arrogance, really. Koji passes through the living room and opens the sliding door that leads to the kitchen. When he enters, he finds that the most disturbing of the house's many stenches is strongest here. He's gonna find the corpses in the room. Blood. The room is redolent. I don't know what that word means. Let's find out. Redolent. That's how you get a good vocabulary. If you don't know what a word is, you just immediately look it up. Exuding fragrance. Aromatic.
Redolent. Redolent.
Redolent, I guess. When he enters, he finds that the most disturbing of the house's many stenches, strongest here, blood. The room's redolent with the smell of countless layers of blood grown stale many over time. He peers into the well-used sink. Around the rim, he sees faint, brownish-red blotches that water alone couldn't rinse off. Even more obvious are the stains on the dish rag. Such stains are proof that the rag has been used and reused countless times. But what could it have been used on to make it that sickening burgundy color? Koji stares at the refrigerator next to the counter as though it were a monster waiting to swallow him whole. He's gonna find Omi's remains and like her clothes and shit in there. Koji stares at the refrigerator next to the counter as though it were a monster waiting to swallow him whole. He stands motionless until he is able to work up the courage to simply touch it. Then he steels himself, grabs the candle, and opens the door. I'm gonna slide this over here. We don't know what's in there. First, he'll check the freezer, then the refrigerator. The freezer is packed with frozen meat varying shapes and sizes. Each piece is wrapped tightly in frosted over plastic. He can't tell what type of meat it is. The meat in the refrigerator has already been thawed for consumption. So, looks to me, there's a hand, something that appears to be the intestine. I'm not sure what part of the human body that is. It's like brown. It might be hair, but there are veins on it. I'm not sure that it's an actual part of the human body. I think there might be some hair in there, but I'm not sure. For a while, he can only stare in disbelief at the 5 fingers beckoning to him from the back of the compartment. I'm not showing this on YouTube for obvious reasons. There are long, slender fingers of a woman, their bluish tinge giving them the appearance of wax works. Koji's unable to remember what Omi's looked like, even though he has kissed her fingers countless times. When he finished crying after his conversation with Fuminori, Koji promised himself that he would not cry again, and in fact, he does not. He regrets his decision, however. He indulged himself too early. He should have saved his soothing tears for this moment, for now he knows that truly, nothing is sacred. At last, his doubts about Fuminori have been utterly obliterated. Koji pulls Ogai's revolver out of the pocket and wraps his hands around its grip like he would a charm. Its definite presence, its promise of merciful annihilation, is the only thing keeping his sanity intact. He will surely use it to kill Sakisaka Fuminori. Not for revenge, not for justice, but to make this world once more a place governed by reason. For that purpose alone, he must eliminate this anomaly. He breathes deep, exhales, then lifts his hand before his face and stares at his spread fingers. Here's the picture again. Alright, he's not shaking. He's prepared to face his new objective. Koji sticks the revolver back into his pocket and pulls out his phone. I don't know what the difference between a quick save and a normal save is. This is an important decision, so I have to save over multiple times. Don't ask me why, but I do. Okay, Twitch, one viewer, have any opinions on this? Just, you probably know how to get in contact with me if you are who I think you are. If you don't, my number is 781-783-7690, but I'm fairly sure I know who you are, so yeah, contact me, because I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. And I would like some opinion on this. You can also put something in the chat if you know how to do that, but I don't know. I'm just not sure. Yeah, contact me, because I'm not sure. I'm really not. Doesn't appear you're... Actually, I should wait a bit longer, but... Because if he calls Fuminori, that'll probably make him just bull rush him. Calling Ryoko, but that could also make it so they fall into the same trap at the same time. Honestly, both of these are probably a bad end. God. How long have I been streaming? I started streaming 66 minutes ago. God. What is that picture? I'm not getting any texts. My buzz will notify me. What do I get out of each of these? Ask myself that. It's like, so if I call Fuminori, that'll... I'm gonna call Ryoko. The ringing of her cell phone interrupts Ryoko's labors. When she sees the caller as Tono Koji, she unwittingly breathes a sigh of relief. This is Tanbo. What is it? I've searched Fuminori's house. Even over the phone, Ryoko can hear the change in Koji's tone. His is the dull, flat voice of someone who has had all the energy beaten out of him. Fuminori has murdered people. He's killed too many people to count, and he's eating them. His first steps into Ryoko's world have already brought him face to face with something particularly gruesome. In consideration of his probable state of mind, she decides to say nothing. Omi is dead, Koji continues. Scuba too, probably. Doctor, I was wrong. The fact that you're still alive means to make this call means you haven't made a fatal mistake yet, Ryoko says, praising Koji in her own way. Whether he is comforted or not is up to him. Anyway, don't screw up this time. Do nothing until I return. What we're dealing with here isn't going down easy. With her understanding of Saya deepening by the hour, Ryoko is able to make this declaration with new confidence. Fuminori already knows I'm alive. I didn't tell him who rescued me, but he's definitely on guard. I see. Koji's actions were rash, but there's no point regretting them now. The more proactive approach would be to use the pressure that he's placed on Fuminori. Ryoko's involvement is still a secret. That makes her a wild card. Depending on how she plays it, this advantage could be decisive. Have you found anything? Not enough yet, Ryoko answers, glancing sidelong at the loose-leaf pages still scattered across the table. Let's see. I'll wrap this up by evening and return to Tokyo around midnight. You stay out of trouble until then. Got it? Yes. The lack of emotion in Koji's voice is actually reassuring to Ryoko. He's a machine now, able to do whatever it takes to accomplish a single goal, the extermination of Sakisaka Fuminori. And we are going to save there. We Return to title. Config CG library. And voice playback. Ooh, let's crank this up. No, I'm not putting it too high up. Oh, I can turn.
さやの歌それは
それは
さやの歌
Saya no uta. Saya no uta. Why? Well, yeah, I'll see you guys later. Go look at this.